Sean Diddy Combs,
Right.
would you consider pardoning him?
Well, he was essentially, I guess, sort of half innocent.
Yes.
I don't know what they do. He's still in jail or something, but he was celebrating a victory, but he seems, I guess it wasn't as good as a victory. Probably, I was very friendly with him. I got along with him great.
New details have emerged from inside the correctional facility where Sean Diddy Combs is being held, and what sources are describing sounds nothing short of a breakdown. Once the king of hip-hop luxury, Diddy is reportedly struggling to cope with the harsh realities of prison life, and the cracks are beginning to show. According to multiple insiders close to Diddy's inner circle, the mogul's mental state has taken a dramatic turn. Sources speaking to Rolling Stone and TMZ describe him as unrecognizable, pacing his cell, and breaking down during late-night calls with family. One guard even told reporters that Diddy spends hours staring at the wall, refusing to eat or
presidential pardons. During an August 5th interview with CNN, Nicole Westmoreland, an attorney for Combs, was asked whether the music mogul's defense team has had a conversation with President Trump about the possibility of a pardon. And she revealed that those wheels are in motion.
In Sean Combs' orbit, have they had conversations with the Trump administration?
Yes. My understanding is that we have reached out.
Reached out is one thing, having a conversation is another. Do you know if there have been active conversations about a pardon?
Yes, it's my understanding that we've reached out and had conversations in reference to a pardon.
Despite Westmoreland's remarks, the White House declined to weigh in on the situation when contacted by NBC News, saying in a statement on August 6th that it, quote, will not comment on the existence or non-existence of any clemency request. A few days earlier, however, Trump himself was asked during an interview with Newsmax about the possibility that he'd pardon Diddy of his convictions. The president couldn't give a definitive answer, but referenced some lapses in his personal relationship with the Bad Boy Records exec.
Sean Diddy Combs,
Right.
would you consider pardoning him?
Well, he was essentially, I guess, sort of half innocent.
Yes.
I don't know what they do. He's still in jail or something, but he was celebrating a victory, but he seems, I guess it wasn't as good as a victory. Probably, I was very friendly with him. I got along with him great, and seemed like a nice guy. I didn't know him well. But when I ran for office, he was very hostile.
He said some not so nice things about you, sir.
Yeah, and it's hard, like you, we're human beings.
Right.
And we don't like to have things cloud our judgment, right? But when you knew someone and you were fine, and then you run for office and he made some terrible statements. So I don't know, it's more difficult. It makes it more, I'm being honest, it makes it more difficult to do.
But more likely a no for Combs?
I would say so.
Okay.
Diddy was convicted of 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution and faces up to 10 years behind bars. His sentencing is currently set for October 3rd. The influential record producer was acquitted of 3 other charges: racketeering conspiracy and 2 counts of sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion. During her interview with CNN, Nicole Westmoreland attributed the defense team's success to, quote, telling the truth.
This verdict was, in no uncertain terms, a victory for the defense. Talk about that strategy from day one, to come out of the gate and say he is a domestic abuser, but that is not what he is on trial for here.
So, the strategy was to just tell the truth. That's really what we decided, to just tell the truth. We didn't need a creative story. We didn't need to overreach. We knew that telling the truth meant not guilty. We knew that he had not sex trafficked anyone, and we knew that RICO was absurd. So we figured, hey, we'll tell the truth and that will pay off.
But a clip of the former president praising the hip-hop mogul on a 2012 episode of The Celebrity Apprentice has resurfaced in the wake of Diddy's bombshell arrest and indictment on sex trafficking charges. Season 5 contestant Aubrey O'Day touted her time working with Diddy in the 2000s girl group Danity Kane as having prepared her for the business world, prompting Trump to defend the artist and entrepreneur when Aubrey didn't want to discuss the matter further.
I am a very strict and focused businesswoman because working for Diddy for 6 years trained me to have to be perfect.
Working for Diddy?
Absolutely.
I love Diddy. You know, he's a good friend of mine. He's a good guy.
He expects.
Is he a good guy?
I don't want to answer that
Oh,
question.
wow. I
don't
think
know.
he's a good guy. I'm going to stick up for him.
Trump and wife Melania have been photographed with Diddy at multiple high-profile events over the years. Diddy previously complimented Trump in a 2015 interview with the Washington Post amid the politician's first presidential bid, saying at the time, "Donald Trump is a friend of mine and he works very hard." Trump has yet to speak out on Diddy's latest legal troubles, but Aubrey did take to social media with an emotional reaction to his September 16th arrest and noted how she hopes the situation marks a long-awaited turning point, writing, "The purpose of justice is to provide an ending and allow us the space to create a new chapter. Women never get this. I feel validated. Today is a win for women all over the world, not just me. Things are finally changing." The pop singer has previously alleged that Diddy dropped her from Danity Kane after she refused to participate in activities she claimed were outside her professional obligations. And she spoke about her allegations in a 2022 interview with Call Her Daddy's Alex Cooper.
Watching it as a viewer, I always was like, oh, Diddy is like so obsessed with Aubrey.
I just want you to look good.
If you're not happy, you hate me, then why you have me here?
I don't have to have you here. That's one thing that we can make clear. That's one thing we can make clear.
What happened to Danity Kane? Why did the band break up?
I wasn't willing to do what was expected of me, not talent-wise, but in other areas. At the very end, he fired me.
Diddy pleaded not guilty at his arraignment in New York City and was denied bail. His attorney previously shut down the allegations facing his client, saying in a statement that he and his team are, quote, disappointed with the decision to pursue what we believe is an unjust prosecution of Mr. Combs.
I was very friendly with him. I got along with him great. And seemed like a nice guy. I didn't know him well. But when I ran for office, he was very hostile.
He said some not so nice things about you, sir.
And
Yes.
it's hard, you know, like you, we're human beings.
Right.
And we don't like to have things cloud our judgment, right? But when you knew someone and you were fine, and then you run for office and he made some terrible statements. So I don't know, it's more difficult. It makes it more, I'm being honest, it makes it more difficult to do.
But more likely a no for Combs,
I
it
would
sounds
say
like.
so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Questions about a potential pardon for Combs came just days after the president pardoned Todd and Julie Chrisley for their tax evasion crimes. The duo, who entered prison in early 2023, had been set to remain incarcerated until 2032 and 2028 respectively, before they were released on May 28th on order of the president. As for Combs, the 55-year-old will return to court for sentencing on October 3rd, following his conviction on the 2 prostitution-related charges. His counsel is seeking 21 to 27 months, while prosecutors are asking for 51 to 63 months.
Itself.
Insight into his former friendship with Combs and whether he'd issue a pardon if he's convicted. Trump told reporters during an Oval Office event alongside Elon Musk May 30th in response to a question about a possible Combs pardon, "I know people are thinking about it. First of all, I'd look at what's happening, and I haven't been watching it too closely, although it's certainly getting a lot of coverage." As for where the president currently stands with the Bad Boy Records founder, he said, "I haven't seen him. I haven't spoken to him in years. He used to really like me a lot, but I think when I ran for politics, that relationship sort of busted up from what I read. I don't know. He didn't tell me that. I read some nasty statements in the paper all of a sudden." Despite where they may stand on a personal level, Trump added,
I would certainly look at the facts. If I think somebody was mistreated, whether they like me or don't like me, it wouldn't have any impact.
Trump's comments on a potential Combs pardon come just days after the president pardoned Todd Chrisley and Julie Chrisley for their tax evasion crimes. The duo, who entered prison in early 2023, had been set to remain incarcerated until 2032 and 2028, respectively, before they were released May 28th on order of the president.
Full criminal trial, 7 weeks of testimony and a verdict that ended in Sean Diddy Combs' conviction on 2 federal sex crimes charges. Could he be pardoned by the president of the United States? You know, that is a question that came up a lot when we were doing the live streams of the Diddy trial every day on YouTube. I never really considered it as a real possibility, but I'll tell you what, now, based on current reporting, we may have to take this seriously. Oh, and in terms of relief for Diddy, we also have to get into his defense team's new memo that they filed arguing that his conviction should be thrown out, or at the very least, he should get a new trial. We're going to talk about that too. And by the way, let me tell you, we have an amazing guest who I'm going to be bringing on in a little bit, somebody who actually helped secure federal pardons for his clients, including from President Trump, and is an expert in criminal law, has been following this case from the very beginning. I'm going to bring him on in a little bit. But why do I say that we have to take pardons seriously now? Why? Well, TMZ has reported that President Donald Trump's administration has been talking to Diddy's legal team about a potential pardon, a forgiveness for a federal crime. It's enshrined in the Constitution. Article 2, Section 2, Clause 1, the president shall have power to grant reprieves and pardons for offenses against the United States, except in cases of impeachment. And according to TMZ, his decision to pardon Diddy may be determined based on if Judge Arun Subramanian grants Diddy bail, which, by the way, we dedicated a whole sidebar to the other day. His team just filed a brand new letter with the court asking for him to be released. I broke it down, discussed all those arguments. But TMZ also has reported that the pardon decision could also come down to how Diddy is ultimately sentenced on October 3rd. And remember, he was acquitted of racketeering and sex trafficking, but he was found guilty of the 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution, the Mann Act violations, namely transporting his exes, Jane and Cassie Ventura Fine, and men across state lines for the purposes of sex work. Each charge carries up to 10 years in prison, although I'll tell you, in a prior filing, the government was looking at roughly 4 to 5 year prison sentence. Mind you, this is before a pre-sentencing report has been prepared for the court, which does a full background check and analysis of Diddy's life and crimes. Now, the defense would and Diddy had been photographed with Trump over the years. There was some sort of relationship there. President Trump even called him a good friend on a 2012 episode of his TV show The Apprentice. The problem is, some comments Diddy made about Trump in recent years as Diddy really entered the political realm. There's a video where he's speaking to radio host Charlemagne saying, if Trump gets elected, I really do believe in my heart there'll be a race war. In another video on Revolt, he says white men like Trump need to be banished. And by the way, you know who's not letting anyone forget this? Combs' rival 50 Cent. Took to social media recently, wrote, see, Trump don't like S like this, buddy. You run your mouth too much. And Donald doesn't take well to disrespect and doesn't forget who chooses to go against him. While working tirelessly to make America great again, there is no room for distraction. He would consider pardoning anyone who is being mistreated, not Puff Daddy. And let me tell you, the idea of Trump pardoning Diddy is not getting a ton of love out there. Conservative commentator Megyn Kelly posted on X, Trump should not pardon Diddy. He doesn't deserve it. He's a Trump hater. He's a woman abuser. MAGA is already upset over elites seeming to cover for each other. This would not help. GOP struggling with young female voters, most of whom will hate a Diddy pardon. And then you just had other random accounts like America First. What? He's actually considering this? Diddy is a depraved, abusive, sexual deviant who should be spending the rest of his life in prison. If Trump pardons him, he will get absolutely crushed. Who is advising him lately? It's looking like straight up sabotage at this point. There were other accounts that were not in favor of it, although there was this account, Milo, posted on X. Trump has no choice but to pardon Diddy after the government, led by James Comey's daughter Maureen, simply lost interest in Diddy's guilt the moment they secured his tapes incriminating powerful Democrats. The prosecution was a shambles. The trial was a farce. Now, I want to talk about if this is really going to happen, how it would happen. Also, if it really depends on bail and sentencing, then what are we talking about? And I have somebody who not only has been following the Diddy case from the very beginning, not only is a renowned criminal defense attorney, but actually has obtained federal pardons from the president, including from Donald Trump. By the way, for his clients Kodak Black and Lil Wayne, those were maybe the most notable. I'm joined by Bradford Cohen. Bradford, thank you so much for coming here on Sidebar. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Jess.
Now, before I
talk, Diddy, once surrounded by fame, wealth, and control, now faces the complete opposite: structure, silence, and powerlessness. Sources say the adjustment has been brutal. Prison insiders claim he's had multiple emotional outbursts, especially after his appeal was denied. Others say he's requested isolation for his own safety. One corrections officer told Page Six that Diddy appears paranoid, fearing other inmates may target him due to his celebrity status. Inmates reportedly whisper about him, and one insider described the environment as hostile curiosity. Everyone wants to see how the mighty have fallen. Insiders claim that Diddy's biggest fear isn't violence, it's losing control. After decades of being in charge, his current situation forces him into complete submission. One close associate said, "He's realizing money can't buy freedom, and that's breaking him." Diddy's legal team is reportedly pushing for a psychological evaluation, arguing that his current state could impact his ability to communicate with counsel. Sources close to the family have remained silent, but insiders believe...
We can get into the pardon, okay? There was a bit of breaking news before we were going to come on. This is what I want to get your opinion on first. So Combs' defense team filed a memo in support of a motion for judgment of acquittal, or in the alternative, a motion for a new trial. And basically, I know you read through it, but basically the evidence, they would say, is insufficient to sustain that conviction. Their main arguments is really echoing what we've talked about a little bit when it came to the bail analysis, but that his prosecution, his conviction on these Mann Act prostitution charges is so unique. He wasn't profiting off of this business. All consenting adults were involved. The jury didn't find that there was any sex trafficking. They argued this isn't even prostitution per se, it's voyeurism, that the intent wasn't for people to travel for sex for money, but he paid them for their time. Everybody was having a good time. He makes a First Amendment argument that the freak-offs and the hotel nights were performances that were typically videotaped so they could watch them later on. It's just amateur pornography. And then finally makes the argument that he was prejudiced because of all the other evidence that came in to prove RICO or sex trafficking, and would have never came in if he was merely being prosecuted for prostitution, particularly the Intercontinental Hotel footage of him purporting to beat up Cassie Ventura Fine. And he says, at the very least, he needs a new trial.
Everyone agrees he might be the only person in custody right now that has ever been convicted of the Mann Act. The Mann Act, and it gives a nice history of the Mann Act, and a lot of people don't understand what the Mann Act is, but the Mann Act was enacted because of a racist motivation that white women were being recruited by people of color to go across state lines and make money. So actually pimping those women across state lines and making money off of their sexual exploits. Obviously, that's not the case here. It's used so infrequently, it might have been a handful of people were actually charged with the Mann Act. No one in custody currently has ever been convicted of the Mann Act. So it's an interesting argument to say, hey, listen, this Mann Act, the original reason for it was racist. The original way that it was applied was racist. The way it's applied here is incorrect because he was not making any money from quote unquote pimping or getting these women across, or men getting them across state lines. None of that was being done. This was all being done for entertainment purposes. So it's an interesting argument. I don't think this judge buys it. It might be interesting on an appeal, but I don't think the judge is going to give him a judgment of acquittal on those two counts based on the argument. Now, the more interesting argument to me, and it's their last argument for new trial, is that, listen, if you were just going to charge him with these two counts, which I originally said when I looked at all the evidence, and don't forget, I was getting calls during this trial from individuals that were telling me, hey, I have information that exonerates what they're saying against Sean Combs, essentially saying that Cassie and others were participating more than just having sex in a room. They were participating more than that. They were paying people, they were hiring people, they were sending me pictures even when Diddy wasn't around. They were asking me to come over even when Diddy wasn't around. These were what these witnesses were telling me, which is really Brady evidence. And I don't know if that was ever turned over. But the more interesting argument is that all these counts were charged. The only thing he was convicted of were the Mann Acts, and he probably wouldn't have been convicted of these Mann Acts but for all this other stuff that came in to try and prove these counts that they could not prove and did not have a basis for bringing.
Let me just challenge you on that, because this is a jury who didn't find that there was sex trafficking, and I can't confirm that they found him guilty of the Mann Act because of the hotel video or anything else. I mean, it seems to me that they might have convicted him on that based on the travel records, the payment receipts, all about that, not even necessarily allegations of violence. I mean, do you think that it was because of, let's say, the Intercontinental Hotel video that he was convicted of transportation to engage in prostitution? It always felt to me that they proved that charge based purely on, the documents.
Well, I always feel like during a trial, whenever you get a guilty verdict on one of the counts or two of the counts out of 6 or 7, you think to yourself, is it because of these other things that they brought up? How bad he is, he's not a good guy, the video came out. Sometimes juries will split the baby, meaning, there's people that want to convict, there's people that don't want to convict, and they're like, okay, let's convict him on these acts. We can all agree we can convict him on these acts. He's not a good guy.
For the egregious actions that you were caught on camera committing. What's your take on deleting everything from his Instagram account?
I think that I think the apology wasn't taken the way that he thought it would be taken, number one. I don't believe it got him where he thought it would get him in terms of, and I don't know. My opinion is it was probably a crisis PR saying like, hey, you got to get something out, because I don't believe it would be, I wouldn't give the advice as a defense attorney, hey, start apologizing right away on your Instagram.
And admitting it was you on the tape.
Yeah, I would probably have, I always suggest that the low key is the best way, and deleting pretty much everything. That the advice, the fact that he deleted everything, that could probably be advice from his defense attorney. The issue of him putting up the apology in the first place was probably some sort of crisis PR person. I don't think that it got the type of traction that he thought it would. Most people thought that he wasn't sincere, or now he's sorry and he wasn't sorry. He shouldn't have been sorry. Or that I was in a dark place and now I'm not. I think a better move for him would have been the route to take to a AA, NA, or some sort of retreat for like 6 months and get some treatment for whatever psychological issues and or addiction issues he may or may not have, or it may be that he had and now he doesn't, but it's never too late for a tune-up. Those type of things are probably a better idea. And as part and parcel of that, usually you'll find that recovery centers will say, like, get rid of your Instagram, get rid of your past, so people aren't commenting on it, and you're taking that in psychologically, where people are writing like, hey, you're still a POS, you're the worst person on the planet. And listen, everyone's a human. We lose our humanity on the internet somehow, where people think it's okay to start commenting on other people. And even if that person, is not a good person, and I'm not saying he's a good person, a bad person. I don't know him at all. But I'm certainly sure the actions that he took that day was not that of someone who was in their right mind. I think that, people have to remember that. And during those recovery periods, that's a good time to delete your Instagram, delete your posts, and have no one comment on it.
See, now that's interesting, because I thought that he might have wanted to turn off the comments and not have his family see what people were responding on every comment, although he still kept his X account where there's some of that same content up there. But anyway, you just real quick before we close things up, you had mentioned he might have gotten advice from his criminal defense attorney to delete it. I'm confused, because that's already all out there. I mean, like, that was all taken away. It's not like he can hide it. It's not. And by the way, and let's say, for example, we lived in a world where you delete your Instagram and it's totally gone. That'd be like evidence tampering. So what would be the legal advice for him to delete everything?
I think because, like I said before, whenever I get a defendant, I'm like, listen, start fresh, get rid of all that stuff, because people are putting up comments that you're then going to want to respond to, that you may put out something new. It's always a good idea just to delete all of your social accounts and start fresh.